Hello, everybody. I'm over here in the back if you can't see me on the video. This is a very special episode of our SOTA Pop podcast. So who we have with us today, we have the SOTA Advisory Council here with us. And Dr. Brown is actually going to have a little conversation with them. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you, Dr. Brown.
All right. Well, thank you, Mark. And I want to tell you all a little bit about what this group does. We're missing a few members, but I wanted to tell you what their purpose is. This is their first time to be together as a cohesive unit, and we look forward to many more times together. In running any kind of unit, being it arts, business, finance, etc., whatever unit, there's never one person who has all the answers, and there's never one person who can make anything happen. It's a team effort. It's a collective effort. And for me, I feel it's essential to have representatives of all walks of life and have an affinity or appreciation for creativity and how it affects day-to-day life. And with this, we have 3 different groups that help us with this. The first is the student leaders who we interviewed. Mark, we did that, was it earlier this semester?
Yeah, we did it earlier. I think it might have been fall semester, but
yeah, I think so. One of the first episodes, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was one of the first ones.
Okay. And then also we have our steering committee, which is comprised of faculty and staff within the School of the Arts. And our last body that we just put together, it took me some time to get the right group together, and I think I finally got a good mix, and it's the SOTA Advisory Council. And it probably took me about a year to think about individuals who that I felt could really be invested in what our students are doing and their needs. And I wanted to be sure that that group was not only invested, but had a heart for UNA and had a heart for its students. And also maybe had experience as an educator or a student in some capacity. And my last thing that was a core requirement for me is that I didn't want them to necessarily have a practicing career in the arts. I wanted them to have an appreciation, an understanding, probably dabble in art somewhere, but didn't necessarily have that direct connection. And I'm very thankful to have this group in front of me, and I'm going to let each of you have a moment to introduce yourselves, and then I'm going to have some questions for you. You want to start on the end?
All right. I'm Judith Roush from Florence, Alabama. My journey is like most people's. I start out one direction and end up a totally different one. But I did retire from the university in '91. I was a reluctant faculty member. And along the way, I became a doctor of public health, and realizing we really don't have a healthcare system, we really have an illness care system. So that's sort of my background. But art used to mean drawing and, I don't know, paintings and things like that, but I've discovered it's really life. It's really life, and it starts at birth. You can see in these babies, they have propensities, one direction or another. And I was fortunate enough to raise one that, he's a professor of photography actually here, but when Dr. Brown first came into our lives, it's really hard for me to talk about it without tearing up because it's so profound and so deep what's happening here at the university. It's exciting and wonderful, and it's student-oriented, and it's changing lives. Kids get to find out who they really are and take their own path in many, many different directions. And art is so inclusive. It's not just theater and music and the things we thought in the past, but it's really developing a whole other side of your brain and balancing the side where you were sort of rigidly taught this and that in grade school and the way our education system is. But there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and this university is growing, and it's growing fast, and I can see why. It's been a wonderful morning exploring with Dr. Brown and listening to his faculty, how they got where they are, and how they're involving the students in the community. Tremendous involvement in the community from this university. And I'm just really humbled and pleased and grateful to have a part in it. Thank you, Dr. Brown.
My name is Stanley Trimble. I have been an educator most of my life. I am from Sheffield, Alabama, and I'm a graduate of UNA, 1963. I was an academic at various schools, ending at UCLA. And for us, arts are the milk of life. I think I speak for Alice and myself to say that art is what really, in many ways, makes life worth living.
Yes.
To us, it's largely music, but there's also theater, visual art, architecture, in particular, that we love, and that has been our common bond through our almost 57 years of being together. So I guess I will leave it at that for the moment.
Well, my name is Alice Trimble, married to Stanley. We met here at UNA in a music appreciation class.
So if you're enrolled in MU 222, you may find your mate today.
And it's thrilling to see how far you've come and what you have done here. I mean, it's not even, it is not the place it was when, when we were here. It's so far beyond. But actually, I'm from Huntsville, Alabama. And as I said, I graduated in 1964. And my background in education has been business and English, which is far removed from music. And my second career was as a library director in Giles County, Tennessee library system. But as Stanley said, we have been into music, all of the arts, forever. We have two daughters who both were into chorales, piano, organ, theater, the broad spectrum of the arts, and we are happy that we were able to provide these opportunities for them, and I think it has, made their life so much richer. But we're both very pleased to be asked to serve on this committee.
Well, we're very happy to have you all here, and I'm going to go. It's not going to take too much of your time, but I have a few questions and maybe thoughts that you all can chime in on, and just jump in whenever you would like. I would like for you to take a moment to just describe your passion for the arts and why it's played such an integral part in your individual lives. That's a loaded question.
Well, before I get into that, I would really like to hear Dr. Trimble tell how he met Dr. Brown, because it really illustrates why we're all involved. Would you tell that story?
Yes. Well, as I said, Alice and I are very much into music, and part of that, of course, is opera. And we had not known through any of the UNA publications that there was even an opera program here. I can assure you we'd been around earlier had we known. And actually, I will have to say that our contributions to other institutions were to other institutions. But we just happened 2.5 years ago to see a local publication, Norala, North Alabama Magazine, and lo and behold, there's a program on an opera. I mean, there's a article on an opera program here at UNA, and I'm absolutely astounded. Why have we not heard about this? 50 miles from where we live. And so I made it my business to contact Dr. Brown and found out more, and it wasn't long before we showed up at these events.
Well, I just want to say that it's been an honor, and also for the students, to know that they have that kind of support, and that they have someone who can look and say, wow, you're doing something that a lot of schools aren't doing, and we want to be there to support. Just to look out, honestly, to say a few instances of how these individuals have impacted the arts, and just for me personally, and how it integrates in the School of the Arts, is for you all to come to pretty much every single production that those students have done means so much for them to see you there and to see you invested. That's the biggest thing. To look out singing Messiah and singing bass solos, to sit in the orchestra left right there in the front. Yeah. I saw you there, and those things that they really touch you to realize that there are people invest in you, and also that what you do matters. And I think that's the biggest thing for any artist or any creative, is that when they pour their souls and invest so much, and they take the research and they take the scholarly and they merge it with the creativity and present it to an audience, or present it to listeners or hearers, or whatever the medium is, a visual, that they want to know that it moved someone and it helped someone, and that there are people who appreciate that. So that, I think, you all, that sums up the passion.
There's no aspect of life that cannot be expressed and meet someone's heart by stage, by music, by visual, by photographs. All these areas of art reflect who we really are and where we can go and who we can be. And it's love, and it's forgiveness, and inspiration. It's just everything. Everything is reflected through the arts. And the creativity is just beyond. It's so delightful because it's so different, and always different, because we're all different, all individuals.
I think that's a perfect way to say it. Before we go to our next question, one of Dr. Carmen Burkhalter, who is also on our advisory council, who's ill today, she's told me something, and she mentioned it in a previous podcast recording that I never forgot. She called that the arts were the protector of humanity. And I thought about that, and I said, I didn't say that the arts were the only thing, and there are tons of other disciplines that affect human life, but that's something that allows us to have that empathy and that connection, that transcends a lot of understanding, and that's the beautiful thing about it. You've all talked about this a little bit, but can you all talk a bit about your connection and experiences at UNA? Just from before as a student to now.
Well, I wasn't a student. I didn't graduate UNA, but I retired from UNA. So I was a clinic nurse with the health department when I went to UNA. And I probably already said this, that I switched and I now was Doctor of Public Health, and I taught nursing. So these are students. They could probably
you can talk about your experience on both sides, actually.
Well, it's no comparison to what it is to what it was when I retired in '91. It really isn't. But it was not a bad institution then. It just was more divided, and the departments kept to themselves. I ran into Tom Ott somewhere after I retired, and he goes, "Oh, you're at UNA." And I said, "Yeah, almost 20 years." And we never met. You just stay in your own little groove. And so it's, go ahead.
Well, growing up, I didn't have the sort of background Alice did in music and art and dance and so forth. But, at that time, growing up in the 40s and early 50s, there was enough ambient culture, that is, popular songs and so forth, carried enough classical music themes, radio programs, the Lone Ranger, of course, being the most famous of those. But anyway, you pay. So I'd already begun to understand that there was something out there far better than the sort of stuff we had been listening to as teenagers, and I had gotten into a good bit of this, but it really took form in an organized form in the class we had, music appreciation with a Dr. Christensen here. This was in the spring semester of 1962, and that's of course where we met. But it's also where we got a unified, organized idea of good music. And as I say, we met in the class, and this idea of art, transcending just music, is something that has really unified and bolstered our relationship for almost 6 decades, and still does.
What do you think, Allison?
Well, I'll back up a little bit and say that I grew up on a cotton farm in North
Really?
Alabama, in a very rural area where there were no opportunities for participation in the arts to speak of. But even though, there was not a lot of money, my mother sacrificed and made it possible for me to take music lessons, piano lessons beginning at 2nd grade, and dance lessons and elocution lessons, although you wouldn't know it now. But I'm just saying that, that was the seed that began my love of all the arts. You have a course here in design. Now, I loved sewing.
Really?
But if there had been a program like that here, I'm sure I would have gone right into it.
Wow.
But anyway, our passion for arts has just grown and grown over the years as we've had more opportunities.
Yeah.
And I think that's the wonderful thing for your students here, that all these opportunities are here. And there's so much scholarship money available that students from disadvantaged backgrounds can come here and take advantage of all these wonderful opportunities.
I think I definitely agree with that. I will say throughout my journey here at UNA, if I had known about, even we talked about earlier at lunch, we talked about the hidden gem of UNA and not knowing that it was here. If I had known that it was here when I was coming out of high school, I probably would have considered this school. But I will say during my time here, it's almost been a decade now, that I have learned that this school has been supportive of any kind of thoughts, and especially creativity. If you come with an idea and a concept and a detailed budget, of course, how much it's going to cost to attain what you want to, the school has always been very supportive of those ideals. For instance, the School of the Arts. It took, a few years to formulate plans, and people have thought about how to do it before, and we came up with this idea, and we took it out and did some research and visited peer institutions that had arts programs, collective arts programs, on how to make that work. And then also, how did it integrate into what we were doing here at UNA? And what I would like to consider SOTA as being a place that people can come to share collective ideas, where you can share resources to get to a certain destination, and also to act as a level of the playing field for provide equity amongst the different disciplines. And I think we've been able to do that. So I think UNA has, with the School of the Arts and also how it can help support other programs, has really taken a step forward and become an innovator of education by doing that. One of the things I say that I do enjoy is that we do get to collaborate with other disciplines. Say, for instance, this semester we're collaborating with foreign languages to provide some financial assistance to help them with their French Film Festival. We've been a partner in that for a couple of years now, but this year we're able to contribute more monetarily to become an equal partner. The Department of English, Dr. Cynthia Burkhead, is the head of the George Lindsay Film Festival. A lot of our faculty in the cinematic arts with theater partner with her to help with that. When I was in music, we used to partner with the Department of History often to present events. One of the major things was bringing Dr. Gunn back to campus to celebrate the 50th year of the desegregation of UNA. And for that, I put together a small vocal group of students, voice majors, and it was about 7, and we sang for that, and those students said, "We like this, let's continue," and that born another group. And I'm not saying to say that, I'm just saying that what UNA has afforded me in allowing me to be creative, and what it has given me even as a young professor coming up, an opportunity to learn how to invest in students as other professors and other teachers have invested in me. And that's why I think I love the institution so much. In talking about the arts, what do you believe is the future of the arts in its current state? What do you believe how it will play a role in shaping society? Will it be an integral part? Will it not be an integral part? What do you think?
Well, let me speak to that for a moment. Frankly, I have been concerned about the high arts, and particularly for music, over some period of time. And there's a sort of a disparate thing going on here. I know there are more symphony orchestras, there are more musical groups and so forth. I rejoice in that. But particularly my students at let's take my students at UCLA. I would always sound them out as to what their taste was in music and if they knew something about classical music. And it just over the years began to dawn on me that not many had ever been exposed to classical music, and most didn't care to be.
Yeah.
And I found this of concern. I observed that in many concerts, as you looked at a cross, you saw a sea of gray, if you know what I mean, and that was a concern. And I guess it was the ambience of pop music. Again, growing up young, I was exposed to good music just through the media, through radio. We didn't have television back in those days, so it had to be the radio. But even pop songs were often based on, Chopin, Tchaikovsky, and so forth. You could easily grow up now, apparently, based on what I've seen, with very little exposure to this sort of thing. And you can't like something unless you know it. I mean, unless you've been exposed to it.
Yeah, right.
And so I guess
Yeah.
it has been our aim to do whatever we can to foster that.
Well, I see that if the programs that you are implementing and already implementing, taking this information into the schools, involving them, mentoring them, you have student workers all over the campus. I feel really good about the future of the arts. I think we're waking up to what art really is. Our concept is broadening. And I'm very encouraged that there's going to be an increase in not just the use of arts, but the appreciation of what is, and other people's way of expressing that in other cultures, because there's many ways. And all cultures have arts.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, and I see the university here bringing that together. And I'm just very excited about what you've shared and what you've done since you came. I'm in awe of this whole situation. I'm really blown away. I'm grateful.
If all schools had a program such as yours, I think that would just make for a great future in the arts and opening it up to students. And so I feel positive about the influence you have made here in your programs. And the fact that you are reaching out, doing outreach work in the schools, I think makes all the difference in the world. You have future students out there. You're opening their eyes to something they probably have not been exposed to before.
Well, I think that I'm very fortunate to be able to share in this educational journey. And when I say educational journey, even for me, I'm still learning every single day. And we have exceptional faculty across the campus, but I see, of course, in our three areas, in visual art and design and cinematic arts and theater and music, and I see the faculty there, and I see their investment in the students. They're not just there to give them the knowledge that they find in the textbooks. They're investing in the students, and in turn, I see the students investing in the faculty members.
I could see that today.
I will tell you, there have been many times when, even today, I still teach, even though I'm in administration, I teach. And going into opera rehearsal, I've had yesterday, say, it was a difficult day. And I went into opera rehearsal, and I got more from them in listening to them and hear them develop than I did from anything that I did that day. I was a recharge, and I felt kind of guilty because I think that they gave me more than I gave them that day. But I see that across all of our disciplines. Say, for instance, in our merger of cinematic arts and theater has been a new way to open up opportunities for those students and to cross-pollinate those two disciplines as well. In visual art and design, to see that interior design and fashion merchandising has different avenues to take people right into the industry. In the Department of Music, even from seeing when I was there, we had strong, large ensembles. What I'm seeing more now is more chamber ensembles starting to really take the front, take the stage. We are for AMEA, our Alabama Music Educators Association conference, which was January 17th, I think. Our low brass ensemble went there, and I guarantee before, just going from the reception to my truck, I was stopped by 4 or 5 people who said, "You're from UNA. That low brass ensemble this morning, oh my goodness."
I would love to have been there for
It
that.
was
I love low brass.
amazing. And Dr. Lukowich is, one of our faculty members who's come and really transform that group and giving them some, opportunities to move forward. Dr. Jones continues to be innovative with the marching band, Dr. Terrance Brown with the opera, and Professor James in theater. They did a production of Waiting for Godot. And to be honest, I didn't know much about the play before I went there. I knew the title, so I kind of read the backstory and didn't really think I was going to be a fan of the play after reading the synopsis. I said, this thing's going to be kind of boring. But he had the forethought to bring in a guest director to give the students a different experience. And that's the one thing about our faculty that I love. We're maybe experts in our fields, but we also understand that there are different perspectives on how to educate students. So we often will bring in people to give a different perspective or a different vocabulary than we can provide. And he did that with Waiting for Godot. And those students, to see them light up that stage and to transform that play into something that really made me engage, as an audience member, was fantastic. And we're seeing a lot of different, there's so many things. I wish I had time to name them all, but I am thankful that you all see these things are deciding to invest in this journey with us to help us reach new heights and to protect the future of the arts and creativity. And it's important for that because our university holds it as a priority, and in turn, we hold it as a priority.
Well, thank you for bringing in your faculty today, because each of them in their own areas and what they're doing in the community and the way they're involved with their students is the biggest impression of this day. I'm really impressed with all your faculty. They're very community focused and student.
Yes, we do, and we have some wonderful students. I can't complain at all about that.
Wow.
If I could just give perhaps one example of exposure to music. If a reluctant student could have been, say, even dragged into your performance of Hansel and Gretel, and why I hate orchestral music, I hate classical singing, and just have heard the children's prayer, who could resist it? Or orchestrally, the nice Wagnerian sounds you were getting out of the Humperdinck. It's just something that could grab you. You can't appreciate it till you hear it. And there it is, right? And available for students here.
Thank you for that.
Well, like I said, I do thank you all, and I look forward to your counsel and your guidance, and also for the students to have that experience and seeing that there are individuals who care about them and what they do matters.
Hey guys, Tyler here. Make sure to check out all of our social medias and feel free to send us your feedback at arts@una.edu or through the DMs of any of our social media. I hope you enjoyed this special episode, and I'll see you in the future.
This podcast has been brought to you by UNA School of the Arts. Executive producer is Mark Gallegos, co-produced by Selena Fugate and Tyler Hankins. Special thanks to Dr. Terrance Brown and the entire SOTA staff.